Hi, I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Generic Ad.
Join us every Wednesday as we talk about films that seem to be forgotten by audiences, whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the film, maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. You never know, you might find your own forgotten gem. Forgotten Cinema is available wherever you get your podcasts or at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or ForgottenEntertainment.com, as we are a proud part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
I swear I talk more in the episodes.
Hello, and welcome to Recent Activity, your new favorite entertainment review podcast that attempts to cover every film, every show, all at once. I am your co-host, Andrew Morgan. With me, as always, is the man I loved who died and came back a total dick. It's Shane Beauregard.
What's up?
How are you, sir? We're back in the MCU, Shane. Aren't you happy?
I'm actually great for this time around. We'll get into it, but I'm actually happy to be in this pocket right now.
Yeah, especially, we're coming off of, most people just borderline suicidal after what's happened after Spider-Man No Way Home. And now we're in phase 5. We're sitting here staring at only Ant-Man Quantumania before this, and then also reading every headline of Jonathan Majors and going, oh boy, where's the MCU going to be heading after this? But the one thing that's been weird, man, we're going to talk Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 today. If you have not watched this movie, we'll probably be lightly non-spoilery to start, and then we're going to just rip it all to shreds, because that's what you do with the MCU, because it's all about where we were, where we are now, and where it's going from here. And I gotta say that even just the rest of phase 5, man, I feel almost bad for them, but they kind of set their own deal with the Jonathan Majors thing and everything else. But he's not even in the rest of phase 5 the way it's currently laid out, and the writer's strike is doing them no favors either, because I heard they stopped production on Blade, and I didn't know where they were in production on the other ones that they have. The only one I know is obviously there's trailers for the Marvels at this point. And after that, Captain America New World Order, Thunderbolts, it's like, could be fun, But we'll see. But like I said, we will focus right now on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the third installment from writer-director James Gunn, who, again, for everybody to remind you, the Jonathan Majors thing is not the only controversy they've ever had, because James Gunn was fired from this movie, if everyone remembered, for his old tweets and a lot of that controversy around the same time ABC or Disney was firing other people like Roseanne and whoever else around the same time, and it got, he got caught in that thing. And then he was hired back because they were like, oh, no one cares. DC's getting great product from him. Let's finish this up. Let's get him back in the fold. And he also had people like Dave Bautista and whoever else championing him to come back. So was it worth it is what we'll kind of go through it today. The initial scores are off the charts. It's an 82% Rotten Tomatoes score with a 95% Rotten Tomato audience score, 65 Metascore, 8.4 IMDb, and a 4.2 Letterboxd. That is crazy high. This, of course, is us coming back into a team that's, all over the place. They're reeling from the loss of Gamora, but Gamora is now back. It's Peter Quill and the team rallying to defend the universe and one of their own Rocket. In this one, it's a big Rocket version, volume, whatever you will. It's basically his whole origin story. I could get into it more, but it felt a little X2, like he's now Wolverine, and there's a lot of like Wolverine crossover. I don't know if you thought the same thing, Shane.
I did.
But basically we're looking at a mission that could mean the end of the Guardians if not successful. This movie made $282.1 million over the weekend, but only 114 domestic. It's so weird when we're in the stage we are these days where 282 million is not a failure, but kind of also a red flag. I'll give you some numbers, Shane. Ant-Man 3 did 106 domestically. Guardians, I thought would have done a lot more,
Yeah.
and it did 114. So only 8 million more. In comparison to some of the recent ones, Wakanda Forever did 181, and it didn't have Chadwick Boseman. Thor: Love and Thunder did 144, and that's a third in a franchise that, fourth of a franchise, and a lot of question marks as to what that movie was going to be, and it still did 30 million more domestically. Doctor Strange did 187, so that was like more in the Wakanda Forever territory. And of course, they had the big number with Spider-Man No Way Home doing 260 million domestically, and that was during big spike in coronavirus too at the end of 2021. So, and of course then they had Eternals and Shang-Chi, where it was like they were just happy to be playing during the coronavirus. And even then, those made in the 71 to 75 million category. So not exactly strong, or as strong than I thought. I thought this movie would have projected to be closer to at least Thor: Love and Thunder levels, if not back to Wakanda Forever, Doctor Strange numbers. So I guess before we get into the movie itself, are you feeling the superhero fatigue? I mean, we've talked about the MCU issues, and especially coming off Ant-Man. I thought this movie was kind of like separate from the MCU because it's not really fully tied, and I think a lot of people just were like, whatever.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised because Guardians is a good franchise. A lot of people love the characters, Peter Quill, Drax, all that stuff. I thought this movie would perform a little better, but it goes to show you, based on the prior performances since Spider-Man No Way From Home, between Marvel and DC, I mean, seriously, like, what's the last, like, really good movie they put out? Like, I think people are getting fatigued, and I called it way back after Endgame. I said, that's the end of Marvel. That was its peak. It can't get any better. Right. I don't know where they go from here. It's not going to work. Like, I'll still see the movies. You'll still see the movies because we're into that stuff. But we already peaked in the MCU. So DC with James Gunn could be finding his footing, but still between Black Adam, Shazam, there's nothing that caught fire. So I'm a little disappointed with the numbers this movie brought in, because we'll get into it, but it should have done better than Thor: Love and Thunder, which I love Thor, but we both discussed that movie and it was just not up to par. But so I really do think people are just fatigued with superhero movies. I really do. I think it'll take maybe Blue Beetle, which I would, if I had to guess, would do between 100 and 125. But considering that's a character no one knows, I think will be a big hit. I think it's going to take something that no one really knows about to come and hit us with a good action movie and a good, just a good movie, period, that there's a character that no one really knows about. And maybe Blue Beetle's that movie that changes the course of just superhero movies in general. I'm hearing good things about The Flash, to be honest with you. Yeah. So we'll see, but I do think people are finally getting to the point where, like, okay, man, it's been 13 years. I'm kind of over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well, I think the MCU didn't do them any favors by, I believe it's 6 years to the day that it took between Volume 2 and Volume 3. Yeah. So an in-between time, you honestly, I don't think they do a very good job of directing the Guardians outside of the Guardians movies. And we mentioned in Love and Thunder how much we are like, these don't even feel like the Guardians in that movie. And they didn't act like their characters, and they were doing things that their characters really wouldn't do. It wasn't a lot of fun, etc. And then, like, you're talking about, like, what, at the end of Infinity War, Peter Quill makes a huge mistake and really kind of like acts out of revenge and can't kill Gamora, and the whole thing with that, like, that, kind of set them back a little bit too. And this is what all that we've seen them in between, except for the holiday special, which I very much enjoyed. but you don't get a lot of like the whole team really coming together. It was kind of like almost like a Drax and Mantis side project, you know, in a way.
Right.
So yeah, I think that didn't help at all. And then obviously where the MCU is at this point has not helped. And obviously there's probably a lot of confusion as to where they're going to go, you know, because even a lot of these movies that are coming after, which I mentioned, I don't see a lot of direction. I see a lot of one-offs. So where it's building, I don't know. I see almost more world building stuff on the TV side, which is not helpful with like something like Secret Invasion. But I as it looks right now, I think they're just hoping that Thunderbolts can kind of be like the new Guardians now that Guardians is kind of going to the wayside. But the good news is that this movie got exceptional reviews, obviously, as we're coming into it. How did you enjoy this movie? I guess we could get right into like initial thoughts, because I thought, you know, at least the storytelling was consistent with it. It's interesting that they kind of position Rocket the way they did, but I'm really all over the place about this movie, so I kind of want to hear your thoughts, and maybe I can kind of get my feelings in and out of those conversations.
Okay, and we'll get into details, obviously, but overall, when this movie got over, I enjoyed it. Okay, it's a little bloaty at 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's a little bloated.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about the whole Rocket, how the whole storyline is centered around Rocket. I get it. I will say this: it's better than the second one by far, but it's not as good as the first one.
Yeah.
So overall, I thought it's probably the best movie they put out since Spider-Man No Way Home, but I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. They brought the humor back. There's some plot points that I didn't care much. Like Adam Warlock felt like a plot device to move the story forward.
Yeah.
They didn't do much with developing that character as much as they like at the end of the second movie, they were like, you know, it was like going to be a big reveal and he was going to be prominent in the third movie, which he really wasn't.
Right.
Which was kind of a letdown. He was kind of like a MacGuffin to the whole movie.
And he's a dimwit.
Yeah, and he's a dimwit, which I don't know much about that comic character. I'll be honest with you.
I
know
either.
He's like super. Yeah, I know he's like super powerful and all that kind of stuff, which they portrayed in this version of the movie. But I thought his character development fell way short. Like if you cut him from the movie, you don't lose anything from the movie at all.
No, I don't think
Period.
So. Yeah.
So the High Evolutionary, I kind of liked as a villain. I liked what he was doing with the whole creating the superior species with Rocket and all the other animals. It did like kind of tug at your heartstrings a little bit. But I'll tell you, going into this movie, you heard rumors like this person's not going to make it. This person's not going to. I was a little disappointed, and we won't go into spoilers yet, but I was like, okay. It touched me a little bit, but not as much as I thought it would. But overall, I thought I was entertained. It was I enjoyed myself in the theater as a whole in this movie. I don't know how I felt about the whole Gamora Quill storyline. I thought they could have done a better job. Like I didn't necessarily need to see them together again.
Right.
But it's like outside of that little 5-minute speech he gave her at the end of the movie, it's like they kind of danced around the whole topic until then. And it's like, okay. And it's fine that, you know, it's fine the way they ended up, but it's like they didn't really dive into that emotional storyline they could have built off of Endgame. So
Right.
There's some hits and some misses, but overall I thought Gunn did a good job wrapping up this series with what he had. Like everyone loves the characters, man. Everyone loves Drax and Mantis. Like I love Mantis. So like everyone had a chance to shine, but like there were some plot points that I thought could have been carried a little more, and there were some that just not written enough about, I guess.
Yeah. I agree with you for the most part on all of those things, because I think this is a solid entry. I think it, like you said, I would probably go with the same order. Number one is one of my favorites, if not my favorite MCU movie. So it's hard to do better. Even though weirdly the scores right now, if you took the IMDb, they rank it, or this is the best, and I don't agree with that.
No.
But what I like about it is that even though I didn't love Rocket being kind of taken out in a way, like, of this movie, even though he is the center, because you're doing the flashback where he's not fully Rocket or the Rocket we know, and then you're also having him literally sidelines, fighting for his life most of the movie. So when you take Rocket out of the equation, him being himself, you lose a lot of the humor. Because he has a certain dynamic with Quill. He has a certain dynamic with Groot, obviously. And I think it affected Groot the most. Groot is basically nothing now. Like, he does, like, a few things, fighting-wise, that's great. But the Rocket would always kind of, like, interpret and get into it with him, and they'd have, like, these fun kind of conversations. I think a lot of that got lost in this particular one. And to me, I think the best part of this stuff is the consistency in the themes that they have, where it's like, it's always about trying to find your place in the world or family, or the fact that they're like these misfit toys, and obviously Rocket being the extreme version with that. And it's good to see the team back together and functioning the way we know them to be now that, they're back in James Gunn's hand. So I enjoyed that. I thought the big group fight scene at the end of the movie is one of the better fight scenes I've seen in an MCU movie in a while. And I was really into it. And I thought, with the Beastie Boys thing going and everything else, I was into it. But honestly, my favorite thing is probably Drax and Mantis, and mostly Drax in this movie, because he is the most consistently funny character. And I love how he plays off of Mantis. I love their energy together. And honestly, you and I, we're two dads of a certain age, and we watch these movies, and we're also softies. And I honestly, for how much this movie is kind of dour and really kind of tries to get you to be emotional in a lot of different areas, I think the thing that hit me the most was the line they said to Drax, and kind of Drax's turning into the whole "you're not a destroyer, you're a dad" thing. That was the thing that got me the most, I think. And again, because I enjoy Drax the most probably in this movie, which is probably the unintended version. Like, people are probably like, no, you should love baby Rocket being with his friends and all these things, and you should love Quill and kind of like getting himself off the mat after Gamora was gone, and now Gamora's back, and that whole thing. And there's a lot of other storylines, but honestly, I thought those were decent or good. But yeah, I want my Guardians to be fun, and that's part of my problem, where a lot of this movie is really kind of dark, and that's why I was saying it felt like X2. But like with some laugh lines,
right? And you stole a little of my thunder, because when you mentioned about Rocket being some of the humor in there with Groot, I felt like they transferred that whole comedic routine to Mantis and Drax. I thought they were the two, like Laurel and Hardy. You know what I mean? Like, I thought those were the standalones, and it worked. Like it worked. Drax and Mantis were the funniest parts of this movie, especially Drax. Like, he got back into his zone like he was in the first one. I think, and I've said it before, Batista is a very underrated actor, and he just encompasses this role of Drax. So they carried the humor for me, but you made a good point, because Rocket being taken out for most of the movie, he did have that sarcastic humor and interpreted Groot, and I didn't even think about Groot in this movie, to be honest with you. I guess I should have, but I really didn't, because he was taken out for the most part. But I guess getting involved in his backstory and what they were doing to try to help him, I got lost in that fact. Like, okay, I'm okay with him being sidelined for a little bit here. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, Drax and Mantis carried the humor for me. Peter, I was in a weird spot with Star-Lord this movie. Like, he wasn't as funny as he normally is. He's more grounded, more the step up of the leader in this movie. So
they make him a drunk, and they're playing Radiohead Creep acoustically. Like, it's a bummer to start. It's a weird vibe.
It is, and this like kind of bounces off the whole Christmas special, because he was down and out there too. You know what I mean? He's been, ever since Gamora is not Gamora, he's not been himself. You know what I mean? And that's why I wish they would address that a little bit more in this movie, and they really didn't address it. You know what I mean? That's where I thought it fell short. So I do like the fact that this was a standalone movie, like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
It didn't have to connect anything to anything. It was like, we're going to wrap this up the way we're going to wrap this up. It's its own story, contained, not attached to any fucking universe or not having to like promote something. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the mid-credit. We'll get into it, but I enjoyed the mid-credit scene. I could have cared less about the post-credit scene unless you saw the Christmas special. It didn't. I would have walked out if I knew that's what it was. But and we'll get into it. But overall, I'm happy with it. Now they're all saying, "Oh, where are we to go from here?" No, to me, this is it. Don't make another Guardians movie. If you want Chris Pratt in another Marvel movie, I'm cool with it. But to me, this is the end of the Guardians story. I don't need to see any more. I don't care to see any more.
Yeah. I'm with you, and which is a little sad for me because I like these characters, and honestly, I mean, it's a miracle that they get this kind of like loaded lineup to come together every X amount of years and really make this work. And obviously, James Gunn is going to be very, very busy, and so you can't get that version of the Guardians again. The interesting thing, so let's talk about Chris Pratt for a second, because yeah, like you said, his character kind of goes back and forth. He's out of sorts. He's a drunk. He's just so distraught that he's not kind of been the leader they need to be. And then they take Rocket and sideline him for most of the movie, and then he kind of is taken over being that. And I find it odd. Two things. One, a lot of people are kind of saying it, but not fully saying it. I wonder if because of Chris Pratt's off-camera stuff, that they're comfortable with kind of like making him a lesser character and promoting others at the same time. But I don't know. It's so tough when you're taking the one human character that you can really bond with and then promoting non-human characters or potentially all CGI characters and making them the center of the story. And then also people kind of being like, well, Rocket has been the backbone of this team the whole time. I'm like, man, the first two movies are clearly about Quill. And if anything, you can make an argument that the first movie is about, Gamora and Nebula's issues with Thanos and the shrapnel of what Thanos' grip on this particular universe was. Outside of that, you can't sell me that it's been Rocket the whole time and then this is why this movie exists. I wonder if, they just consciously either thought, okay, this is the best story because we want this villain, or they wanted to kind of move down with Pratt and then elevate other characters.
Yeah, that's a tough debate to have because one, you're right. Like in his personal life, he's even said that he feels like what he's been like his faith or whatever you want to, whatever.
Yeah,
it's been like against him the past couple of years with what he's been trying to do in Hollywood, which I get. Right,
sure.
I understand that. But if you go back and really think about the first two Guardians movie, basically, this movie being a Rocket movie, they did hint heavily at Rocket's past, and he would get so upset when he's like, I'm not a thing, I'm not this, I'm not that.
Right.
So they were kind of like foreshadowing his past storyline without giving it to us. In this movie, I felt like that's where James Gunn wanted to go.
Sure.
With Rocket's past and finally getting to why he is the way he is. And he's so like just, what's the word I'm looking for? Protective of it or defensive about it.
Right.
But you're right. The whole storyline with Quill doesn't make a lot of sense. So I don't know if that has to do with what he's going through personally, but story-wise, it doesn't make a ton of sense, to be honest with you. So I thought they could have balanced that out better, but I understand the Rocket storyline because, again, the first, second movie, if you go back and watch them, they were hinting at that a lot with his past and how like defensive he got when people would call him a thing or a rabbit, whatever they called him, and he got all upset about it. Yeah. So
this hedgehog, they were still doing it in this movie, and I laugh.
Yeah. So I get it, but I thought they mishandled Quill's character a little bit in this movie. But and it's a shame because Chris Pratt is phenomenal in this role, and he's funny, man. Like, I thought
it's my
he should have been
favorite
a
role
little-
of his, and I think they slowly have kind of sucked some of the joy out of him, whether
Yeah,
that's his decisions or the writing or whatever it is. But
yeah,
it's been my lesser enjoyable things with that.
for lack of a better term, they kind of neutered him as we went along
Totally.
in this series. Yeah. And it's a shame because he's my favorite outside of Drax. He's my favorite character in this series. But he comes around at the end. We'll get into it. But I don't know. I'm with you on a lot of thoughts about the whole Pratt situation, and I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to believe. I don't know how much that goes into it because it seems like James Gunn always championed Chris Pratt no matter what. So I kind of find it hard that no matter what Chris Pratt's going through, he's going to like write him a lesser role or change his character that dynamically.
Sure.
In this movie. So I don't know what to make of that whole situation.
I don't either. And before we get into like maybe more minute details, I did also want to put out there that I enjoyed the High Evolutionary as a villain as well. Because the MCU just traditionally is not very good at villains. Like you have your all-star in Thanos, and then if you go down the line, it's like, all right, well, who would you put at number 2 of like villains all time with them? And it's like, are we really going to say like what, Killmonger or
Loki?
Loki. And that's the thing too. Every time they have somebody like a Loki or a Winter Soldier who's a bad guy,
they turn him
around. So it's like it's hard to think about, someone who's pure evil, right? Because even we went through with Christian Bale's character in Love and Thunder, someone who's labeled a god killer, or god butcher, excuse me, and he's still complicated enough that like he's not all bad, or like his he had like a Breaking Bad moment that everybody can understand or whatever. This one, they really went out of their way to be like, this guy's pure evil. He's a maniac. I heard someone explain it, and I actually enjoyed this comparison. They were like, this is what Tech Bros would be if it was like in space in the MCU, where it's like they only think about like the purest, like perfect thing. Don't care if they have to like go back to the drawing board, even if going back to the drawing board means, killing off whole worlds or whatever. Like it's just no. We're striving towards the most perfect thing, and I don't care what gets in our way or whatnot. And that's how he operated, and it made a lot of sense. And for him to also be just obsessed with Rocket and his brain and how he functions better than even the best people that he's created after him. It makes a lot of sense why he would be obsessed with trying to find him and insert that intelligence into his beings and basically, continue the experiments and the lab rat stuff on Rocket himself. But, I enjoyed it from just being like, you can make him one note, or you could say maybe he was over the top, but at least, it's consistent and it worked in the story. So I can't complain about anything. Chikwudi Awuji, I'm going to butcher his name, but I thought he was very effective, and I loved the RoboCop joke they threw in about him with like the stretched face with the piece. It was perfect. I absolutely love that part. But also that kind of, I was like, when did RoboCop come out? When did Quill come into space? I was doing too many like pieces of math.
You do too much math. You do too much math in there, man.
Too much thinking. Yeah.
But no, he was probably, honestly, as you laid it out, the best villain we've had in a long time.
Yeah, at least the one that made the most sense. Like, we've had a lot of ones where I'm like, oh, I dig the actor or the performance, but then it's like, it didn't fully work for the story. This one, I thought at least had most of those characteristics, the positivity in there.
It was consistent throughout the storyline, and every time he thought he would take a turn, emotionally towards Rocket, no, he was that bad, evil guy. He just did not care.
Yeah.
He had one purpose in mind, and he was going to achieve that one purpose no matter what.
Yeah.
So I thought he was the most consistent villain we've had, the most logical villain we've had in quite a while in the MCU, to be honest with you. So I loved it. I really loved his performance. I loved his character. It made sense throughout the movie. So rock on for that one, because he hit all the notes as far as being pure evil, as you put it, in this movie. And he was consistent. So that's what I dug about it. I can't think of a better villain outside of, we mentioned Thanos, obviously, as being the big heavy. But, yeah, I mean, I can't think of one in the recent Phase 4 and 5 that made more sense than the High Evolutionary.
No, again,
opinion.
it's probably a Loki, but then, like we said, they always have to mess with that.
Yeah, they kind of ruined Loki by turning him good. We root for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, because I really can't think of anybody else. Because if you take it in the stages of the Avengers movies, right, it was like Loki was the big bad, essentially, the Avengers, the first Avengers movie. Then Ultron is the big bad where nobody gives a shit, about Ultron, especially long term. And then, you move on into the Thanos stages, the Infinity Gauntlet saga, the Infinity Saga, and that's all she wrote, because he kind of like was the big bad for everybody on some level. Some people will maybe champion somebody like Vulture, somebody will, like I said, Killmonger, or, there are decent performances, but
you can maybe argue Scarlet Witch in the Doctor Strange 2 movie.
Sure. Yeah, although that, was inconsistent too.
Right, right.
So that's always tough.
That's a stretch. Right, that's a stretch,
Yeah, and then you have movies like Civil War where it's like they're fighting each other. So like you kind of take out a lot of those things out of the equation. So I thought one of the coolest looking ones was Red Skull, but they really kind of just, I don't know. I thought that movie, they just kind of like steamrolled him and he didn't have a lot to do. And then they turned him into like,
the floating red guy.
Yeah, the afterlife ghost kind of character, the afterlife Sherpa, whatever he's doing.
Here's what I'll say after this movie, because this is what I was really thinking about as far as like pure trilogies in the MCU.
Sure.
The first one is obviously Captain America is the best trilogy. It's up there with The Dark Knight. You could argue what's better, Captain America or The Dark Knight, and I'll have that debate with you all the time.
I think it's because Civil War cheated, but I'll let you continue.
Okay. But after that, it to me comes down to the Iron Man trilogy and the Guardians trilogy is like, what's the second best? You know what I mean?
Well, now we have Spider-Man, but I mean, it's going to continue, but we have 3 of those too.
Right. You're right. I guess as far as I'm talking like pure MCU, I guess I was thinking Iron Man, Guardians. And it's right up there with Iron Man for me, man. And it's debatable. Like, should I put this second behind Captain America? Should I put, because you go back and forth, because to me, I know you have Guardians number 1. I have Iron Man. The first one is like top 2 MC movies of all time. Both second movies in the trilogy sucked ass. Let's put it that way.
Uh-huh.
And then we come down to the third one, which I liked Iron Man 3. A lot of people didn't like Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I like it.
But Guardians 3 was to me was a pretty good step. So I can go back and forth between Iron Man and Guardians as far as trilogies go, outside of the whole Captain America, because that's not even debatable as far as MCU trilogies go. That's number 1.
Right. Well, a third in the series, which is always a hard thing to do, especially if you're not doing some consistent storyline or something in between. I think No Way Home is probably the best third installment. And,
you're right.
And then it would probably be, honestly, I think this one. And then again, like, because Civil War, I think, is better than those other, but I always considered it like Captain America 2.5 or Avengers 2.5.
Yes.
If you want, because it's so dependent on all those characters. It's not just the Steve Rogers show. So that's the tough part about me labeling that.
Right.
But yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. If I throw that out, that's where my brain was kind of going, which is unfortunate. But yeah, like Ragnarok, Iron Man 3, and what else did we say? Who else got a third? And Ant-Man obviously is not gonna get that one. And so yeah, so I guess that's where we are. Like, so probably No Way Home, like I said, in the tops of that, I guess. Yeah, like okay. All right, so again, I've mentioned this before to you, Shane. I'm a big nerd. I keep track of these things. This is what, the 32nd Marvel film or something in that range. My top 5 remains the same. This movie did not get that high. I still have Guardians, Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Iron Man, and the first Avengers movie. I could probably be swayed into some of the ones past that to kind of move around maybe into the Avengers spot, but the top 4 is pretty much everybody's top 4, just in different order. And I think you kind of said that to me too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My top 4 is Iron Man. It's exactly what you had. We just had them flip-flopped in different order.
Yeah. So for this movie, again, it's a very solid entry. I have it just ahead of Wakanda Forever. And it's currently just outside the top 10 in the number 11 spot. I have it sandwiched between No Way Home and Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I didn't go where my where your nerdy brain went as far as like ranking them right away. But to be honest with you, it just falls right outside the top 10. I would put it between 11 and 13. Like I liked it more than Wakanda Forever. I liked it better than any of the Ant-Man movies. So it's right. Yeah, it's right there. Second tier, top of the second tier for me for MCU movies.
Yeah, it depends on where you drop the tiers. But yeah, I put it right in that kind of like, and we'll get into the scores in a minute, but the ones that are dropping out of the high 4s or 4s and then it drops down again. So
right.
Like this one is in that same range as No Way Home, Wakanda Forever, Ragnarok, Far From Home, like those type of movies.
Yeah, it's right in there.
It's in that category to me. So, but like we said, this one is, a step up from part 2. I actually, I rewatched part 2 before part 3, even though they don't have that kind of cohesion. I think that movie, just like a lot of MCU movies, just really gets lost in the third act. Even though the Yondu thing is what people are going to remember, and that's in the third act, like the whole Mary Poppins y'all thing.
Yeah.
But outside of that, and honestly, I wonder, did you feel like Yondu was missing a little in this movie too, or some kind of extra element?
I did, but I felt like James Gunn's brother there picked up the mantle, with the whole trying to do the arrow thing. So I got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
And he's trying to be Yondu now. So I missed Yondu in this movie, but I appreciated the fact that that character is trying to pick up the mantle for Yondu. I was surprised. I will say, and I won't go into it on this, but I was surprised that Sylvester Stallone didn't get as much screen time as I thought he was going to, based on the talks before this movie came out.
Uh-huh.
I thought he's going to be a little more prominent in this movie,
right?
But he had a minute of screen time?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, not much.
At all. So I was, not to say I was a little disappointed, but they kind of misled you with that whole Sly's involvement in Guardians 3.
Sure. Yeah, I guess he's trying to just fill out the punch card so he can get a free sub from James Gunn whenever, because he was in Suicide Squad. He was the shark, and then you have the two the two Guardians movies, and who knows where he's going to go from there. But I'm sure Gunn will keep using him over, kind of in the Nathan Fillion category, where Fillion
Which was funny in this movie, by the way. Let's get to Nathan Fillion real quick. He was that whole Star Trek costume he had rocking.
Yeah,
that was a whole funny scene.
I like that scene.
Yeah, I really thought James Gunn would use Sly in that Yondu role a little bit.
Sure,
but that never materialized at all.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have that same relationship with Quill. They didn't do a great job with that in part 2, so what are you going to do for part 3? You know what I mean? Like, they just tossed him. They used it more as like a Gamora prop, just some place for her to be, someone to kind of work with, to get her back in the fold and be on this mission. So I get it. There's not too many things where I was just like, this completely didn't work for me. But I think there was a lot of things in this movie that I was like, okay, I get it. I understand it. But maybe I don't feel it as strongly as some of these other people who are clearly putting the scores are a lot higher. And I guess we could go there. We could do scores on this one. My initial feeling is, because I think I put Wakanda Forever at a 3.5, and I think this movie is a little bit better. So it's in that kind of like 3.5, 3 3/4. I don't think it's a 4-star movie, where people are giving it, it's a 4.2 on Letterboxd. I think that's way too high. So to me, yeah, I guess if I'm being kind, I'll say 3.75.
Since you like to cheat and give 0.25s,
Yes. Always.
I'll-
It's not cheating anymore when I've been consistent for a year, Shane.
I'm not going to cheat, but I like where your head's at, because if I had to grade it, I would grade it a 3.75. But since I don't do 0.25s, and this was better than Wakanda Forever, it was better than Love and Thunder. Because of that and how I graded previous movies, which I learned from you, Andrew.
Yeah.
I would have to bump this. I would round it up and give it a 4. But in my heart of hearts, it's a 3.75. But I would round it up to a 4 based on how I score stuff.
So you know what did it for me, Shane? Because I'm not only trying to put this in the box of where it is in the MCU, but I'm also trying to put it as far as contextualizing for the year too, right?
Right.
And to me, I gave Creed 3 a 4. And I'm like, this movie is not that for me, because the high highs, even though there is issues with Creed 3 in spots, the high highs of Creed 3 is better than the highs of this movie to me.
You're making me think too much. You're making me think too much now.
This is what I do, man.
You, Andrew. God damn you.
This is why I don't sleep. But yeah, no, that's why my brain settles on just say 3.75. Stupid, it's your show. So that's where my brain goes.
All right, 3.75. God
Yeah.
damn you.
Yes, victory. But I guess speaking of victories, so because we've been complaining a lot about the MCU. A lot,
God.
especially now we're in phase 5. The rest of phase 5 looks very suspect, especially because looking at the trailer of the Marvels that played before this movie and has been making the rounds, I'm not overly overjoyed by whatever that looks like right now. Hopefully I could be wrong, pleasantly surprised, because we'll end up watching it. So I know this is a standalone, but does it make you feel better about the MCU overall, or is it just like this was a nice blip on the way to wherever the hell we're going?
Honestly, it's a nice blip onto where we're going. Like I said, It's a single movie, self-contained. I enjoyed it. I have no faith in Kevin Feige and MCU going forward, which is hard to say because they gave us the best fucking shit we've had in like forever. But I don't think he knows where he's going directionally. I just feel like they're piecemealing stuff together at this point.
Right.
I don't have faith in it. I don't like it, but I enjoyed this movie. So I'll continue to watch them, as will you.
Of course.
But I don't know where they're going. I don't like Kang and we talked about the Jonathan Majors situation. I don't like him as an overarching villain. I really don't.
Yeah, it's telling, right, that I didn't even mention him when we were talking about best villains, right? And he's going to be this whole thing.
Yeah, he's going to be the whole thing, and I don't get it. I don't jive with it. I just don't like it. And I'll be honest with you, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of looking more towards the DCEU's James Gunn's universe than I am MCU right now. Like, I like the direction where he's heading into right now with the DC universe.
Yeah. Because, again, I like Suicide Squad. I liked what they did with Peacemaker. And, if he's in charge of that whole thing and, whether it's not really his design, but Flash, if that ends up being a good starting point for them and they can kind of go from there, they might have something on their hands, because I will miss James Gunn in this universe.
Yeah, I will too. But like you said, the Flash is actually getting good chatter from critics right now.
And Tom Cruise.
I like the Blue Beetle trailer. It looks fun. It looks original. I'm all for it.
Okay.
So, what he has lined up with the whole Swamp Thing movie and it's just different iterations of the DC characters we're not maybe used to. I like new characters on screen. So I feel like that's what he's given us with the DC universe. And I'm looking forward to it. I hate to say it because I'm a Marvel guy at heart, but I'm looking more forward to the DCU stuff than I am the MCU stuff right now.
Yeah, and even then, I think it's going to take a while. Like, I agree with the Flash thing. I'm still very iffy about Blue Beetle, only because like some of the CGI look bad, and we've talked about putting the third lead from Cobra Kai as the lead in your movie and trying to go from there. So that's going to be tough.
Lopez. And we got the George Lopez hill we got to climb up.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I think that's an August release. So that's probably
July.
Is it a July release? Jesus.
Yeah.
God, this year is all over the place. So yeah, I agree with you I think this is a blip in the MCU. I don't have a lot of faith in the Marvels and the other ones we mentioned earlier. Your Captain Americas without Captain America, the first Captain America movie without Rogers, and wherever that's going to go, especially because we just watched a whole Captain America TV show and was like, eh. So the carryover for that isn't strong. And then, like I said, they already stopped production on Blade. And the Thunderbolts, they're hoping, like I said, to kind of take over the Guardian mantle and have this kind of odd pairing squad of their own version of the Suicide Squad, whatever, and go with that. Fine, I'm in. That's cool. Some of the lesser characters of some of our other series mixed with some newer characters, I'll take it. That's fine with me. And obviously, we'll have to wait and see what they do with the Kang thing, because honestly, I think they have to make a decision right now. Is Kang staying and being this overarching thing, or are they going to turn around and be like, okay, let's stop it here. Let's figure something out. We'll do a bunch of standalone movies and then recalibrate and do something else. Because honestly, I think they can. Because people already were like iffy or worse about Quantumania. And unless he's a big, big part of Loki season 2, and that's coming out this year too, and very soon, I think, unless he's such a prominent character in that, I think they have to maybe go for it. But I think that they would be just fine if they kind of cut their losses at this point.
I'm with you. Just pivot to something else. Because again, you don't have anything strung together consistently outside of Ant-Man and Loki, where it's like, oh, I can't wait for Kang to appear in the Avengers. No, I honestly don't give a shit, to be honest with you. Like, swap. And
I think a lot of people are there.
Swap out with anybody else, and I'm fine. Because introduce him in like the Fantastic Four movie. Okay, Doctor Doom. Let's pivot to Doctor Doom, and I'm good.
Yes, please. Yeah. But again, we have to wait until at least 2024 for that, right?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. If that kind of like leapfrogs the whole idea of where it's going to go, I'd be fine with it. Because if they do it right, it would be exactly like the biggest thing since Thanos, because Doom is that kind of character. So
yes, exactly right.
I'm with you there. I think that'll wrap up this episode for us. Thank you all for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow us, Recent Act Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And be sure to obviously come back in the weeks to come here, even though we are very mixed with what May has to offer. Because, like I said, Little Mermaid and Fast X is probably not on the radar for us. But we definitely have a lot of TV we're still watching. Barry last night broke my brain. We can get into
don't
that.
Say it. I got to watch it tonight.
Yeah. And then obviously we're still going along with Ted Lasso and a lot of these other shows that we are still heavily involved in. But we'll be back on our movie business probably next week, at least in some regard, because Shane is going to, force my hand, even if I think it's tough to watch the new Ben Affleck, Robert Rodriguez movie. And we'll probably have a nice 10, 15-minute conversation of like, remember when Rodriguez was like the biggest director on the planet for like a minute?
Watch your mouth. Hey,
yeah. So we'll get into all of that and more in the coming weeks. So like I said, subscribe now, don't miss an episode, and come back next week for more recent activity.